Hey guys, welcome back to the layout once again. You're going to have to forgive the mess, so I apologize for that. I've been working, I was going to clean up, but it's, getting short on time. So anyway, got a couple things done on the layout this week. This is really all I've done, so I'm going to kind of cover that in today's video. I'm going to head back to school tonight, and then won't really have a lot of time to work on the layout, but I'll be back pretty soon. I only have 6 weeks of school. I'll be back at least once before that, and then I have like 3.5 months of summer, so we're in a really good place with the layout right now in my opinion, and we're making a lot of progress. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about what I've completed over the last few days and kind of what we're looking forward to do come summertime. So first, let's go ahead and take a look at the upper level, and this is where I've done most of the work. One of the things I mentioned in my first update earlier this week was that I wanted to work on some more of the paper shell scenery. So as you can see, I've started to work on the rock cuts, the terraced rock cuts for Crawford Hill up here. So if any of you have been to Crawford Hill or have looked it up, you'll kind of get an idea of what I'm going for here. Obviously I don't have all the room in the world, so some of this is a little scaled down, and right now I only have two rock cuts. On some of the cuts at Crawford Hill, there are actually 3 levels, where there's like this first terrace and then the second one and the third one. So I'm actually going to talk about something in a second which will kind of be relevant to that. But anyway, I think it's looking pretty good. You can see as we come down here, this one is complemented by a nice little cut out front here. And all I did, again, this is just painter's paper, and I just basically used hot glue and bent, where I glued it to the backdrop, I just folded an edge, glued it there. I also did the same thing. I did the same thing for the sub-road bed. I just glued it right to the edge of the sub-road bed. So the plan is for this, obviously the paper is not done, right? There's more scenery that has to happen, or more work in order to get to the final product. So this is going to be painted over with some glue, and then that'll kind of harden it. Then we'll go over it with plaster gauze, and then we'll paint it, and then the ground cover comes. So anyway, that's that. So then the other thing that I want to talk about, or one other thing, I have multiple things, but the next thing is, what do you guys think I should do for the lighting on the upper level? So you probably saw I've done, and you'll see in a second, I've started to put some LED lighting on the lower level, and that works really well. But we're also going to have to light the upper level, and the question becomes, how are we going to do that? Because right now, the overhead lighting is nice for the aisleways, but it's not enough for the upper level itself. So my first thought was, well, why don't we do a valance all the way around the upper level, and we just hang some hardboard from the ceiling, and then we'll just lay an LED strip up in that corner between the hardboard and the ceiling, just like we're doing for the lower level. And essentially, the upper level framework here is framing the lower level just like a valance would for the upper level. So kind of the same thing, and that'd be pretty simple. But I don't know. I ask you guys what you think we should do, just because maybe you guys have experience with like track lighting or something, if you think there's a better option. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. But the reason that I bring that up is because if we were to do the valance, I'd also extend the backdrop up some, and that's something I might do anyway. But the only reason that's relevant is when I bring the backdrop up, then I'll actually be able to extend the scenery a little higher as well, and we'll get to that third terrace if needed. So anyway, that's just a little thought to consider. So go ahead and comment if you guys have any suggestions on what we should do for lighting. And the last thing we got to was some work here on the lower level. So this is something my dad and I were really thinking hard about. As you guys know, you can actually kind of see it back there. There's a track, that is a reverse loop that goes through the staging room. And I've been kind of troubled for a while trying to figure out how we're going to hide that. And you can see, keep in mind this is all a mock-up, like that backdrop you see. I actually really like the color, but that's just that's some construction paper, so eventually we'll get some actual hardboard back there. But anyway, we thought about all sorts of things here, and my main hang-up was that this backdrop's going to come across here, and we're going to have a hole in the backdrop so that this track here that comes off the curved turnout can go through the backdrop. Well, and my question was always, how are we going to hide that? So I think we've kind of landed on a solution. Haven't figured out all the exact details, but what you're looking at here is just kind of a crude representation of an interstate overpass. So we're going to have an interstate kind of sweep over these tracks here, and we're going to have a pillar support kind of a solid pillar support that will go underneath the interstate. Again, we still don't really know exactly how this is going to work out. It's possible that this will be at a different angle or it'll be wider, so keep an open mind. But what this pillar support is going to do is going to hide this vertical cut here. So you can see that's where the other side of this hole is. So that's going to hide that there. And then the other problem was, how are we going to hide the top edge of the cutout? And of course our answer for that was a pretty wide interstate overpass. So that'll just kind of blend right in to this upper edge of the hole in the backdrop. And what we're also going to do is, for that scene that's kind of back there underneath, well, if we take a look here, there's some sub-road bed coming off of the other side of the peninsula, and that is right behind this backdrop. So underneath that sub-road bed and behind the backdrop here is a little pocket where we're going to do a little bit of scenery. We're also going to light it back there to eliminate the contrast of lighting. So if you look under here, super dark back there, but eventually we'll get to lighting that, put some scenery down there, and my whole thing is hiding the edges of the backdrop. I don't care that there's a little pocket back there, because actually I think that's kind of a cool little effect, having a multi-depth scene, if you know what I mean. So like looking here, you know, the furthest back the scene goes is to the backdrop. If you were to look in there, it would go a little further. So we're going to kind of utilize our interstate overpass here to hide all the edges of the backdrop hole, but what we're going to wind up with is a really cool scene and a really nice way to transition between the hidden part of the layout and the visible portion of the layout right around here. So anyway, as we were thinking about kind of how to cover the hole over here for this scene, we thought that wasn't enough trouble, so we're like, hey, why don't we cut another hole in the backdrop? Because that sounded like a great idea. And that's how we kind of landed on this over here. So initially we had this backdrop building over here in Newport Junction. That was actually a little further down that way. Nothing had been finalized, but we decided to kind of play around with it, and what happens if we bring this building down this way. So initially this was just against the backdrop, and then we thought, well, we'll take the tracks for this industry here, and then we'll run them through our backdrop there. But again, the problem is that creates a massive hole, and we thought, how are we going to hide that? Initially it seemed like it'd be easy enough to hide that hole with some trees, but it's a pretty big hole. So what we landed on was, how about we shift this building even further down this way, and then we'll take another building, we'll cut it to the curve of the backdrop, we'll set it right here, and then this will become a part of this industry. So now we have, of course we haven't built a kit yet for that, so that's just a mock-up obviously, but what we're going to do is get another prefab building, sort of make it a part of this industry, and then we're going to have 1 or 2 tracks go through this building and then through the backdrop. And that's just an old modeling trick that gives us a little more storage capacity for cars for this industry or even for another industry, however it works out. And that really helps with operations and makes this industry seem much larger than it actually is. So that's a cool little thing that we're going to do, and we just figured that out today, so we're pretty proud of ourselves right now, because that's something we always wanted to do. I initially thought we'd do it somewhere along here, just like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Model Railroader Bay Junction project layout on their club layout. So that was kind of an inspiration initially, but that never worked out just because the height of the sub-road bed on the other side. But down here, the sub-road bed on the other side of the backdrop is high enough that we can fit some tracks underneath it. So anyway, that's really all we've come up with. That's just some thinking. Haven't really finalized anything or gotten much work done, but just wanted to share with you kind of what we've been working on down here in terms of ideas and inspiration. So I think we're starting to figure out what we're going to do down here. Have a cool little interstate overpass, even with an off-ramp over on this side. So that'll be a really cool scene, especially when you get down low over here. Take a look at that. I think that's going to be really cool, having trains coming out from underneath the interstate. So anyway, guys, that's all I have for you. I really only... Oh, lies. Hold on. And I almost forgot, the last thing that I want to talk about is down here. So again, a little more scenery work. Also, forgive the mess. I have foam everywhere. But I was trying to use up all the foam down here in this scene, and I was working on some contours, but it turns out instead of working on kind of the landform, I wanted to get the road base in first. So you can see here, we're working with sort of like an S-curve road that starts down here on the the surface, which is below the track height, and then it slowly works its way up to track height there, as you can see. So that's a cool little scene that I think is going to turn out quite nicely. So the next step over here will be working more with foam, but bringing the foam scenery from the edge of the sub-roadbed and meeting up with the road here. So anyway, guys, that's all I have for this video. I thank you so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate the support and all the comments. If you guys have ideas, be sure to comment below, because it's really a learning experience for me. So if you have an idea or have a suggestion, something that I may not know, that'd be great, because I want to make this layout as great as possible, and that's made possible by you all commenting and watching. So again, thank you for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for more videos soon.